Hello, beautiful children. It is amazing to see you in my mind's eye. We're now going to very quickly do the second video for Shavuot, for the second day Shavuot. So we've learnt a lot already, so let's just learn a few more things. Okay, so you ready for rolling back the time? Rolling back the time, and one more. Rolling back the time, and one more. Rolling back the time, and thinking and thinking and thinking. Now we know that Shavuot is also called Chag HaKatzir, the harvest festival. So, the festival of the harvest of the first fruits of your labours that you sow in the field. And the farmers worked so hard all year round to grow their crops. And during the harvest season, the field owners had an opportunity to fulfill many mitzvot, e.g. leave for the poor, the leket, the gleanings, the ears of grain that fell from the hands of the harvesters, the peyah, the corner of the field, and shikha, the forgotten stalks of grain and bundles. Whoever gives gleaning, forgetting, and the corner of the harvested field to a poor person properly was considered as if he built the Bet HaMikdash and brought his offerings inside it. And why am I mentioning the name Chag HaKatzir? Because this is a special story that we read on Shavuot, the harvest story of a very special lady who becomes very important, a convert, somebody who converted to Judaism, who was a Moabite princess actually, and she was very important. So let's talk through, let's have a look at the picture there, okay? So we've got the picture of her, we've got the picture of her daddy, I think, and also her sister. So this princess's daddy was called Eglon. He was a king of Moab. That's her. That's the princess that we're talking about. And she has a sister called Orpah. That's her sister called Orpah. And she wasn't born Jewish. This princess wasn't born Jewish. And at the time of the story, her people were enemies of the Jews. They weren't friendly with the Jews. They weren't best buds. Right. So we have a princess in Moab. But what's going on in Israel? Well, in Israel, there was a famine, and a family decided to pack up and leave Israel to go to the land of Moab, which we believe, SPS, some people say, aka also known as the Medrash, was in Jordan, to escape the famine, because this particular family didn't want to give tzedakah, they didn't want to give charity to poor people. How terrible is that? So the name of this very, very, very wealthy patriarch, the daddy of the family, was Elimelech, and his wife's name was Naomi. Now, she was a very good person and might not have wanted to leave Israel, but she didn't have a choice because she had to go with. Then they had two sons called Machlon and Kilion. Machlon is going to end up marrying this princess, and Kilion is going to end up marrying her sister, whose name was Orpah. So who is this family coming to my country to escape famine and helping their poor people? Who is this terrible men who are running away and not looking after the people that they could have been looking after? They've left their property and they're running away. We've learnt a bit about them. Right, so does everything go well with this marriage when Machlon marries this princess and Kilion marries her sister Orpah? No, it does not. The men should not have married outside their faith because this princess and her sister Orpah had not converted to Judaism yet. And Naomi, the mother-in-law, is very sad because Elimelech and Machlon and Kilion all die and go back to Hashem. So Hashem is not very happy with the plan to run away and not help the poor people. So what is Naomi going to decide to do? Naomi is going to decide to go back to Israel and leave Moab, and tells this princess, please go back to your own home, and tells her sister Orpah, Please go back to your own home. I don't have any more sons for you. You're princesses. You'll be fine. Go back to your gods and your palaces. But the princess, who is the heroine in our story, refuses to leave her mother-in-law. And she says, I want to be Jewish just like you. And I want to live in Israel just like you. And when you're buried, I will be buried there as well. And so Naomi has tried to convince her to stay. But if a Jewish person tries and convinces a non-Jewish person not to convert to Judaism, but they really, really want to, then they have to help them and let them. So the princess and Naomi travel back to Israel and to the homeland of Judah, because Naomi came, her husband and sons, they were all from the tribe of Yehudah. And the princess knows how to pick stalks to get food, leket, shikha, peah. In the olden days, as I explained before, there were grains left or forgotten or dropped, or a corner of the field that the poor people could get their food from. And while she was doing this princess met a judge and a leader, a very important person called Boaz, who just happened to be related to Naomi. And he was very nice to this princess, and he told her, pick in my field, you'll be safe there. And Naomi finds out that this princess has been given lots of grain from this leader, and tells Naomi to go back when the winnowing is done with the barley, because it was the barley harvest after Pesach and it would take 3 months. Go back, and when he falls asleep, uncover his feet, and I'll tell you what to do. So the princess does exactly what she's told. And I think there's going to be a mazel tov on the way, because Boaz is able to buy back all the property that Elimelech had. But what he also needs to do is marry the princess so that that name can continue. And who was this princess? And did she marry Boaz in the end? Well, there was a closer relative, because Boaz was Elimelech's nephew. But SPS, some people say, aka also known as the Midrash, that possibly someone called Tov was the brother of Elimelech, who would have been a closer relative. But he chose not to marry the princess. They all sat outside the gates, and that's where they'd had the bet din at that point, because also the princess would have to convert to Judaism. And it all went very well. This is what the princess has got to tell us. I am the great-grandmother of a king, and I am a mummy to someone called Oved. I now belong to the tribe of Yehudah. My husband's name is Boaz, and my name is, I'm going to shout it out if you know it, my name is Ruth. We read this story on Shavuot. So I hope you've enjoyed the story, and I hope that you'll be able to tell the story to your mummies and daddies. And we read the story of Ruth on Shavuot, as it is the birthday and the yortzeit of David HaMelech, whose great-grandmother was Ruth, the Moabite convert. And the story took place at the time of the harvest festival. Just like Ruth, who accepted the Torah and became Jewish, we also acknowledge that we received the Torah on Har Sinai. How about an ice cream? We mentioned that. Milky foods. What flavour is your favourite ice cream? On Shavuot, we eat dairy foods and even 3-cornered foods, such as cheese kreplach. The Torah compares itself to milk and honey, and we also learn things in 3s, such as Kohanim, Leviim, Yisraelim. This is how the Israelites were in 3 groups: the high priests, the Leviim, and the regular Israelis. The Tanakh, the Torah, the Nevi'im, and the Kesuvim. And Moshe, being the 3rd child of Amram, the Levi, the 3rd tribe, receiving the Torah after 3 days of preparation in the 3rd month, Sivan. And of course, we know, Zman Matan Toratenu, we've got all the 10 commandments. I am Hashem your God who took you out of Egypt, no other gods. Don't say Hashem's name in vain. Keep Shabbat, honor your mummies and daddies, don't murder, don't commit adultery, don't steal, no false witnesses, and don't be jealous. So I think that wraps up Shavuot for us, and I hope you enjoyed learning about Shavuot. Listen to your mummies and daddies and do what they say. Listen to your mummies and daddies, please don't forget to pray. Listen to your mummies and daddies, our rabbis lead the way. Then they will be happy. Take care. See you again soon. Bye.